Shalom, shalom. Want to give all praise to Yahweh Hashem Shai by Hashem Kadash. Double on to the rest of the elect out there. You know, this app crashed on me again, but you know, I had a long run. You know, call out Yahweh Hashem Shai by Hashem Kadash. You know, I was able to bring out a lot. But yeah, you know, Jake was blamed for that BLM shit, that is controlled opposition. You know, he actually had their leader less funded by you know, that Edomite George Soros, man, as well as people who think they funding the right cause. But they didn't push real solutions, and businesses they destroyed it. It was Edomites that was doing it. It wasn't Jake that was even destroying shit. Like, when you saw the videos, it was mainly Esau doing this shit, and they would spray paint BLM and shit, and it was Jake trying to tell them to stop. You know, but of course, you know, if Esau wants to push a specific agenda, you know, he's gonna find the way. You know, you have, and he's gonna blame certain people. Blame Jake, you know, blame Jake. Destroy the small businesses. You know, competition to, you know, widen that gap between the rich and the poor. You know, get people more dependent on Esau. And the same thing's gonna happen here, except instead of Jake being blamed, it's gonna be, you know, anti-V8, you know, the anti-V8 crowd is gonna be blamed. So people that are associated with anti-V8. So goes without saying, you know, Republicans and shit, because they're against the mandates, they're gonna be blamed. And let me go ahead and eat one more. They're gonna be blamed. Maybe I might split it. Let me get yeah, so that's why I wanted to get one of Esau's devices to bring about this. It's in prophecy as well. You know, suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. 2nd Ezra 5:6-22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Verse 23 of 2nd Ezra chapter 6. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. Verse 24 of 2nd Ezra chapter 6, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Yeah, because, it's going to be a shortage and drought of all that, man. Matthew Matthew places, verse 8. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Yep. And you have what? Verse 15. 2nd Ezra chapter 16. Verse 14, verse 15, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up in power. And if you believe like them, you're going to be associated, and even if you're not, you're going to be associated with them. Even if you're not, what these devils are trying to do, man. With this image of the beast, man. Revelation 13, one of them submitting. But, this is what Esau does. Which had the wound by a sword and did live. Verse 15, and he had power. Septimus Severus, man. Septimus Severus. Oh, fuck. Yeah, Septimus Severus, man. They was completely driven out. Lasted from 330 AD to 1453 AD. So like roughly 1,000, right? Roughly. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image should be killed. So, this has to do with the verse I read before in verse 14. Deadly wound, and then you had Jake rule instead. Was declared, the western part of that whole deal, right? Beast should be killed. Yep. Verse 16. So, and that leads to worship. It's not. He doesn't actually give a fuck about the Constitution, as evidenced by Bush's quote. The Constitution is just a piece of paper. Bush actually said this. A Republican president, by the way, showing both sides, right? Both sides, two horns of the same beast, two wings of the same eagle. Bush quote. He did say that. Bush, the cost. Yep. We're gonna have the fact check on this shit. And so, shut up. These people are they're basically funded by the elites to try to debunk the truth and shit. I don't want to see what they say about it. Okay, whatever. Anyways, You know, just a piece of paper is basically what he was saying, something like that. It's just a goddamn piece of paper. You know, that was about your rights. But really, Esau doesn't give a fuck about your rights. At the last, he will declare his wickedness. At the last, he will. Ecclesiastes 14:7 goes into this fucking devil. And he that envieth himself, and this is a recompense of his wickedness. Right? More like free Edom.